Okay, welcome everybody to these workshops that form part of the Stanbic National Youth Jazz Festival. And tonight we are going to be interviewing Sia Charles and Sipopelo Ndlovu. So welcome very much to both of you. It's great to have you both here.
Thanks so much, Kyle. Hello, everyone who's here. Hi, Sia. And thank you for the welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and these workshops, I mean, if we think back to the time gone by, which seems so far away now, but back to sort of in-person Makhanda Jazz Festival, those workshops with the artists that you saw on the stage were an integral part of that intimacy and that holistic experience where you could go to any of the artists, maybe someone that plays the instrument that you do, and you could say to them, hey man, could I please have like a 40-minute lesson? And they would be like, sure. And for me, that has always been an amazing privilege as growing up in the Jazz Festival. I remember having lessons with like John Fetchock and Adrian Mears and Bertel Stanberg, Niels Landgren when he was here, and it's not just watch them on stage and that's where it is. It's as artists, they get to sort of sow back into the next generation of musicians, which is so very, very necessary. And so, I appreciate that we can still do this during a pandemic. It sort of adds a bit of that warmth, that sense of normality to what we are accustomed to at Makhanda. And so I think also just talking about the pandemic, I mean, how wild is it and how amazing is it that we are still having an immersive jazz festival as such as the Stanbic National Jazz Festival at a time such as this, a very strange time in our world. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, this is to anyone. I mean, what does that meant for you as artists being able to showcase your music? On being both festival artists on this festival.
Wow, it's been such an incredible experience. It has been quite tough during the COVID-19 pandemic. Even just wanting to practice, you don't really have that impetus to want to graft, but it's a wonderful opportunity to still be able to, play with your peers as well. Because I'm sure during the lockdowns last year, a lot of us did a lot of solo practicing. So I'm grateful that we were able to actually get together and play with fellow musicians in a safe space, but to still be able to create it's been a great blessing.
Yeah, no, completely. I completely agree with that. I think I speak for everyone when I say when COVID hit, as people in the creative industry, we were really shook and really, really worried, obviously, because what were the implications of a virus that was transferred through contact? It meant people couldn't go out and watch the things that we actually love putting on. So what did that mean for our industry? And even at the same time, social media was really taking a rise. It has been for the past few years. So I think we saw even pre-COVID that people were hosting shows online, there were many, many platforms for that. So I think everyone just jumped onto that, like, okay, this is the be all and end all. So I think big festivals such as the Makhanda Jazz Festival still continuing is really, it gives us a lot of hope, especially because it shows how as mankind we are so able to adapt to any situation. We like I said, I mean, I've said before that this has been a dream come true, being on the stage. And I think in my dream, it was me going down to Makhanda, having that experience, freezing in the cold. But and all these workshops. But Standard Bank really pushed it to still happen, even though we couldn't have that element. And I'm really, really, really grateful for that. And I think every artist is. So it's really a blessing still.
Yeah, that during a pandemic, here we are doing what we are just so passionate about doing, and still being able to do so, as you said, in a safe space. I mean, I think there's duality to that. Obviously, when we perform in an ensemble, we feel safe as creatives to express ourselves, but also as we'll hear on the recordings, that we are adhering to strict COVID-19 protocols. Audiences keeping their masks on, not leaving the venues during performances, socially distanced, and I mean, I think as an audience and also as a community of jazz lovers, it also is very, very inspiring and encouraging. So you spoke about that creative outlet. I think a lot of music students during that time either excelled or they went down drastically because like, okay, we can't have jazz band or wind band. We can't have one, sort of lessons. And so what's the point of practicing? And I think there was a lot of despondency in our industry. But again, we are just so grateful, as you said, Super that Standard Bank have for many years now funded this very, very important festival, which is not just about playing music, it is about living music, it is about cultivating music, the passion, the love for music. I think we've all met through the jazz festival, so I know about both of you, but if you don't mind giving just a little bit of background, doesn't have to be a complete biography, but if you just wouldn't mind giving a little bit of information where you've come from, where you're from, and how you got to this point, without being too detailed, so but maybe Sia, we can start with you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my name is Sia Charles. I'm a trombone player. I was born in Johannesburg, and I grew up in the Eastern Cape in what is now known as Gqeberha, and I was introduced to the trombone by my teacher, an amazing trombone player, Graham Bayer. I'm sure you know Graham, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very spontaneous. He just kind of asked me, would you like to play in the wind band? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I noticed a lot of girls were playing flute, clarinet, and I was quite tomboyish. So I was like, I want to play that weird looking one, that everyone's running away from. So yeah, that's pretty much how it started. And I've been playing.
The curious mind.
Yeah. And I'm based in Cape Town now. Yeah.
Okay. And your involvement with the Jazz Fest here, so sure. When was the first time that you attended the Jazz Fest?
It was around 2005 was the first time I attended the Jazz Festival, and in 2006 I got into the school's big band.
Yes, with Shannon Modi, right?
Yeah, Shannon Modi.
We were in there together.
The great hero, yes. She's amazing. She's just incredible.
Yeah, she is.
Very encouraging as well, and I think it's that fire, being able to see, I don't try to make it a whole, gender topic, but to see a lady play with so much like balls, very courageous and really knows her horn. She knows her axe, Yeah, exactly. And that was just like, wow, that was just so encouraging. And also just to meet Chantal Winley and Karen Hammer, the Swedish trombone player. It was so encouraging to see people who are doing so well what you want to do one day. It encourages you to keep on grafting. So that was my experience at I played in the youth band. I think it was 2010 and 2012. And it was a great way to, a lot of my friends that I know today, I met them way back at the Jazz Fest. It's been a great connection.
There we go.
It's been amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. That just it's the nail on the head, that the Jazz Festival that happens in Makhanda, that has been happening for the past almost 3 decades, has been so vital to cultivating the jazz community. And as you say, we see our local heroes, someone like Shannon Modi, for instance, and she just plays with such power and such finesse, and you are inspired. You see someone who's doing them, and you're like, whoa, so that's we're just so grateful for this festival. And Super Pelo, what about you, bro?
So just a brief introduction. I'm Spepelo. My artist name is the SN Project, and I born in Johannesburg, raised in Johannesburg, between Johannesburg and Bergville in KwaZulu Natal. And that's really, I think that experience is what cultivated my passion for music and the way I understand and see music, and the kind of music that I really want to communicate to everyone who knows me and beyond is because of that experience. Studied at Wits. I graduated in 2018. I did a jazz piano degree. under incredible leadership. David Cousins, Andre Peterson. These are these are the names that you hear in South Africa. Carlo Mombeli, Malcolm Ney, etc., etc., Jonathan Crosley. So I'm really grateful for the individuals who were put in front of me as a student at Wits. I think for me, I always thought really, really deeply about it. I wasn't just at school. Obviously, there were days where, but I always just was in awe of these individuals because I think I was one of those students who would really research my teachers, and just seeing that these people have accomplished so much and they're here imparting their knowledge of the world and of their own technique was just really, really a blessing. So thing, and like I said earlier, I always saw myself as the one who would become this pianist, and then I think because singing has been a big part of my life, I never really noticed that it was something that I was doing. It was just and singing, So that's my little journey as a musician.
It's inspiring. It's so. I mean, this is what we would be able to do in Makhanda in person, And so that is really, and I think maybe just the starting point towards this continuing this conversation this evening is it's just telling the story and knowing the story behind the songs. Your both of your gigs were just so enthralling and captivating, but also just so diverse. There was a completely different vibe and energy to both of your performances, and music like emotions are never created in a vacuum. It's always a response to something. It's always a feeling, and this is who I am, and that is definitely the feeling that I got, listening to your performances, and so just people talking about like having your teachers, and so I did back in varsity. I had a jazz piano lecturer, Errol Gadambi, and he would tell me, Carl, why do you want to go and tell the Americans their own story? You're so obsessed about playing, say, Donnelly or something like that. They know their story. You go there and you tell them your story, and that is, I think, is what both of you did through your music in your performances, which was really, really captivating, and just so encouraging. And I mean, I think the reason why we have so many American standards is that Americans celebrate their own. They know their history, and like, this is our music, we're gonna play it, unity our music. And I think it's important, especially for the younger generation, to see that, to know the story of jazz, and specifically jazz in South Africa. We have those jazz pioneers who did what they did, just basically knowing sort of South African music history, and it just brings like a gravity towards the music. And I think maybe Sia, just starting with your performance, I mean, I really appreciated just the background to those songs, that you performed. I mean, so you did Ascension, you did Kwalanga, you did a rendition of Andrew Livy's Dedication, you did a Jimmy from Yes, and I Thought About You, you did your own another original on the 7. Coffee, is it actually called Coffee and Sunshine, or is it Coffee and just a pronunciation?
The pronunciation is exactly that.
Okay, Coffee and Sunshine, and then Java Kuse Kuse, which was, just to let you know, I was listening to it and I had my son in my arms, and suddenly just started grooving, which is wonderful. Yeah, man.
Yeah, for the children.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Congrats, by the way. Wow, it's amazing.
Thank you very much. Yeah. But I think it's very important as musicians in Africa is that we tell our story. And so I mean, Sia, you're being bold on this festival, and I'm very, very happy to see a trombonist from South Africa, on the bill. But I mean, what has it taken for you to get to this point? I mean, there are a couple of questions I want to ask you about your choice of configuration for the ensemble, a sextet, which is very interesting. Also, some great arranging, those horn lines, back in the solo is fantastic. But I mean, what has it taken for you to get to the stage where you have, the Sia Charles sextet, and for any other young musicians out there, what do they do to achieve this?
Okay. Wow,
So,
Kyle, coming from you, that means a lot. So thank you so much. I think as a kid, I always played in ensembles. So I guess the sextet format I found was so perfect because you've got your rhythm section and you've got three horns where you can arrange in such a way that you can kind of get the colors of the harmony. So if you want to maybe work more on the extended harmonies, you know, like the 9s, the 13s, the sharp 11s, you can actually voice that quite nicely with three horns. So I thought that sextet was just perfect, you know, not too big, not too small, just right. And I do like playing with other people. I guess it's like a safety blanket, I think, you know. It's nice playing with other horns. In the very beginning, I guess, to get to the point where I am now, I remember mentioning with dedication. I think you were in the youth band, yes, when Dr. Andrew Lilly was taking the youth band that year. Yes, so
could have been. I think so. Was it 2010 or somewhere?
It was 2006 or no, 7 or 8. I can't quite recall.
Okay.
But I heard him play dedication with the youth band, and just the harmonies were like, wow, this is amazing. And so from that moment onwards, I said, this is kind of like the sound template that I really resonate with, you know. So it helps being able to tinkle a bit on the piano, just to make your understanding of harmony a bit more expansive. I found that helped me a lot because I'm not a very melodic thinker. I think a lot with the harmony, and then from the harmony the melodies come through. So that's helped quite a bit.
You and I both, just by the way, that's
right.
also started with the harmony. That's a cool sound, and then you know what melody can also fit with it. That's very cool.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not a very just play from your heart. I'm not good at that. Like maybe some chords. Then we'll talk.
I need the structure.
Exactly.
The structure helps. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I hope I answered the question.
No, so that was. I mean, so what has it taken you to get to the point where it's like we want Sia Charles to be on this festival? You know, so how did you? What plans did you have in place? You know, as a young musician to get a break in the festival, because I mean it's no small feat to be featured on the Standard Bank National Jazz Festival stage. You know, the online stage. It's still a stage. It's as you know, it is as legitimate as being in the DSG hall. But I mean, what you know, if you could just to all the young musicians out there, I mean, you know, what does it take to reach this point?
I think from the very beginning, you know, when we started playing as young high school kids, networking was such a big thing, right? Even when you meet someone from another high school, like, hey, what do you play? We were always like networking, you know. So I think that's our culture. I mean, Makhanda Jazz Festival taught us to network and meet different people. And so let's say maybe you have a friend from I don't know, from KZN who plays trumpet, and then somehow a couple years later you meet each other in the same university, and it's just you kind of like fostering and building those relationships. I also found that going to jam sessions is a great way of networking. I mean, you know, because you never know who's listening. You never know who's you know going to pop in, some big shot guy or whatever, or maybe someone who wants to start a band and is trying to look for members. So I found that just putting myself out there and going to a jam session, no matter how nervous I felt, and it's tough actually because you've got to believe in yourself, you know. Not so much believe your own hype, but you've got to believe in yourself. Otherwise, no one's going to want to book you, right? So I think it's also that confidence of just putting yourself out there, regardless of nerves, and I guess being a really nice person. You know, I've met quite a few musicians who are brilliant musicians, but you just don't want to work with them because they're like difficult, right? I think we all know this.
It's the holistic person.
Yes, there you go. Sure.
It's
the whole package. That definitely helps. And just, you know, honoring people and also working on your craft. I'm sure we can all relate. During the lockdown, we actually had to zone in and really work on some stuff because there were so many things that I wasn't really taking the time in terms of just, you know, just technique and some charts that I'd written that I actually I wrote them quite badly, so I had to revisit some of those charts and make them more playable. So that also helps just to stay ready, so that when the time comes, you're prepared. You're not trying to get things together, the last moment.
Here we go.
Right.
I think Thelonious Monk also said that you just got to keep your chops ready, because you don't know when you're going to get the call. You're not going to be like, oh man, it was the pandemic. I know you're going to gig like next week. Can we just push it back like 2 months? Let me just go share it for a couple of hours every day this week, and then 2 months. It's like the gig is now. You're ready now. You're not.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, Propel, what about you, bro?
So I think, the way Sia has really structured that answer is so great. Just to add on to it, I think really the Makhanda Jazz Festival is probably our biggest teacher as upcoming musicians, or for any young music student. I think the Makhanda Jazz Festival is one of the greatest teachers, because you learn a lot of qualities there that are really integral in building yourself as a performer and as an artist in general. So, I mean, I can remember going to the first time I went to Makhanda, I was in first year, and I think it was the year that Carl Shepard was the artist, the young artist. Young artist. So, and to juxtapose it with what we're learning in first year as piano students, we're learning Monk, we're learning Davis, we're learning, Art Tatum, bebop all around. And so this is the only culture that that, okay, when you're a pianist, this is what you know. But going to Makhanda and seeing Carl Shepard live, I was like, how is this person so himself so easily and so well? And everybody responds to him. Not only that, but I mean, it goes without saying, his piano chops are on another level. So it's like, whoa, okay, so you can actually be yourself. Wow, all right, cool. Now let me work on my identity. Let me listen more. Let me understand that I can use everything around me as influence, merely influence to really tap into who I am as a person, because that's what music is. So I think really, long story short, one of the most important things coming up as a musician is to, like Sia said, believe in yourself. But believing in yourself is knowing who you are. And I think that was really a huge thing for me, because when I wrote the music for my album, I think I was really nervous as to how the reception was going to be. But then there had to be a point where I was like, this is who I am, and that's it. Then the reception, people respond to it because they're like, my goodness, you are so yourself. I can resonate with that, and they enjoy that. And I think the more you do that, the better you become as a musician. So then you're not trying to be something you can't be, because you can't be someone else other than yourself. And, I don't want to sound old, guru and all of that, but I think one of the greatest things for me was trying my best to be myself. I think a lot of opportunities I got in that way. Then again, it goes without saying, Sia put it so well, networking. The Makhanda Jazz Festival was one of the greatest places to network. I can say for myself, most of the people that I know and work with, I met them at the Standard Bank Jazz Festival.
I mean, right?
You know what I mean? Like, the two of the people that I played with, play with constantly, I recorded with, and I performed at this gig with, I met them at the Makhanda Jazz Festival. So it's the networking, it's knowing who you are, it's believing in yourself, and it's the shedding, it's the practicing, and really, just putting yourself out there, because there is always somebody listening. Always. Always.
Just talking to you is just so inspiring. But I think again,
that's your journey, please, Kyle. If that's okay.
I'm meant to be talking to you.
What your musicians do.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. I mean, I can definitely resonate with both of you. And just jumping onto what Sipopelo just said, how important the Standard Bank Makhanda Jazz Festival has been to my development as a musician. I'm grateful for my teacher, Marlon Louis at VP, who at this 1 year just said to this 15-year-old fanatical trombonist, and I don't recommend to any of my students who do watch this. I used to bunk a lot of classes to be in the music department. I used to hide in cupboards just to be in the department. But the one year he just sent me to, along with the other musicians, to the jazz festival. And that was the year that I was selected in the youth band with Carlo Mobelli. You know, and but as what you said, what both of you said was your identity. And as a young musician, you don't know who you are just then. But it's relayed to me that when we went to the final round of audition, Carlo was sitting with his eyes closed, and when I played my first note, he said, "That's the sound that I want," you know. And you know, the 15-year-old me compared to the me now, obviously I've learned a wealth of knowledge. But if it wasn't for the festival, being exposed to musicians who were so much better than me, you know, in the band I was 15 and the average age was like 21, you know. And I mean, I think Dan Sharp was in there, Don Vino Prince, Ramonda Brain. Who else is in it? I'm trying to remember the national band photograph. The Mongezi was in 2006. But anyway, for the others that I left off, I apologize on the spot question that Sia just asked me. But when you are exposed to those musicians, you grow. You know, you see these cats that are burning. And I remember being at a festival with Dan Sharp once, and I sang something that I heard being played. And he told me, no, it goes from three, but it was, and I was, you know, just listening and transcribing. That's key. If we can just talk about that as musicians just for a moment. But I just remember, like, with Sean Johannes also being with him in the youth band, and he's also the conductor for the school's band, the school's small group, which is so exciting. But just to see, just to bring it back to the two of you, you know, right now, just to see you, Sipapelo and Sia, and listening and hearing your music is just so inspiring. And I know that it's going to do the very same for musicians both younger than you and older than you, and both those in your community, where you both are, your local community. And it's inspiring. It's great to see, but it's also wonderful to have these opportunities. And again, like we said in the beginning, in the midst of a pandemic, you know. So yeah, it was so great to listen to your gigs. And I just want to talk a little bit about your bands, just for a moment. I mean, Sipapelo, I mean, you got as you said, Daddy Goguana, Wanda Goguana. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just such wonderful musicians. You got Mohammed Dalji on sax, you got Romy, and just by the way, I mean, I can tell that it's Romy, just by listening, because Romy and I, we grew up together here in Kabeja. Went to high school together. We were in the jazz ensemble together. But it's just that, as you know, when a one player plays, you can hear when a guitarist, or it's, you know, I tell all of my students, I tell all of my students that your instrument is an extension of your voice, and when you play, you are speaking. And so I was listening, and I was like, oh no, that's definitely, especially on the double bass. She's got a very, very characteristic sound. And you got Romy, proud to say it, on bass. You got me, Machingana, on vocals. Man, what a powerhouse! You know, and you're talking about also just original sound. I mean, you don't hear anyone that sounds like me. Me sounds like me
at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And then on drums, you've got Spilelo Mazikuko. I mean, those guys that you.
Yeah.
Really.
He's literally an orchestra.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, that was all an intentional choice for the personnel for your group, right? I mean,
yeah.
And
no, so wow. All these. So I have a story about every single one of them band members, but you know, so that we're not here for a long time, I can say that each and every one of them, I met them in a different part of my life, and I had a particular experience with them. And when I had that experience, I was like, man, I hope to one day play with this person, you know. And, you know, Sia, you're talking about jam sessions. I met Mohammed Doji at a jam session. That's when we met. It was a jam session in Linden. There was a place in Linden. I forgot the name of the place. It was called the Muse Cafe, actually. And there were jam sessions there every Thursday. And I met him there, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And Romy also used to go to that jam session, and that was the first time I played with Romy. So anyway, I had played with them before in the space of my performance, and I think I was a nervous person where like, oh my gosh, they're just gonna say no, I'm just gonna try my luck. I had this Orbit gig a couple of years ago, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get every musician who's better than me. That's all I'm gonna do. That's my only rule. I'm gonna get everyone who's better than me, so I'm gonna put myself out there. I called Spelelo. I didn't know him that well. I was like, yo, I got your number from so and so, and he was like, oh, cool. Everyone was just like, oh, yeah, sure. And I think the moment we played together for the first time, everyone was just so invigorated by the community, the sound. I think, again, going back to identity and being yourself, I think that also helps because, I wasn't coming up trying to do Donna Lee, nothing wrong with Donna Lee, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But I was just trying to tell my own story in this way. And from that day, it was like, okay, cool, this is it. And once I record, once I perform, I want to perform with these people. So I had a really, really, really incredible experience with them for the past couple of years. And again, even with Daddy Gogoana, just their willingness to participate in this nobody's career. I think it's really telling as to who they are as musicians. And Sia, again, I keep quoting you, girl, damn. Like, you have that one answer that you gave, you like covered everything, So I just keep going back to that. You said humility. I don't know how you put it, but to paraphrase, you were saying you have to have humility. You have to be an overall great person. Just the fact that they were like, oh yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, cool. No, I'm keen, It really helped. And I think it built me as a person, as a musician, to become better because I played with people who were better than me.
Yeah. Man, that's incredible. And I think I can definitely attest to just that being the general vibe of musicians at the Jazz Fest. I can't remember, just meeting an artist who wasn't keen to just collaborate and to build someone else up, But I think as both you and C have mentioned, your identity, that is key. So that when you play on the piano, when you play, it's not like, oh, that sounds a little bit like so and so, or Sia, when you play on, you sound like so and so. It's like, no, that is Sia on the trombone, and no, that is Sipupelo on the keys. And I think as musicians, we've all drawn from someone else, used ideas, and I think the subconscious mind is incredibly powerful. And I know many nights as a young musician falling asleep to Bertel Strandberg, John Fetchock, J.J. Johnson, and Wynton Marsalis, and we the mind and the brain just processes so many things, the subconscious mind. And I think it's very important. I think as advice maybe to young musicians is that you listen. If you're not listening, that is a big flaw. It's a big mistake. You need to start listening. And so, yes, I mean, just going back to your performance, so on your band, you had Blake Hallaby on piano, and what a player. Zeke Lagrange on tenor, you got Shaw Komori on trumpet, Sipusiso Matsimela on bass, and then Damon Kamenath on drums. And even just listening to that, you could just feel that chemistry and that energy. Again, we were made for face to face. I mean, online we are so grateful that we're able to even put this festival online. But in order to be able to put this festival online, people had to come together, safely in the midst of a pandemic. But just talk to us a little bit about your band, and just your music, if you don't mind.
Sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, just exactly as Pepelo was saying, a lot of the guys that I do know, I met them at Makhanda. Yeah. So I met Zeke at Makhanda, Blake at Makhanda, and Shaw Komori is quite funny because he is a classically trained trumpeter primarily, very solid classical trumpeter, and he switched to jazz, I think, beginning of his undergrad, but he's learned so much, and I think he went to the States for a bit to do jazz, and he came back. So he's got a great energy about him. But we met at, funnily enough, at the National Youth Orchestra course.
Sanyo,
Yeah, Sanyo, solid guy, very solid. I met Smoo and Damien while studying at UCT. Yeah, so I'd always Smooth was the go-to for double bass. Hey, Smooth man, are you available for my recital, man? You know.
Yeah.
So but it's so
We all have those people.
Yes,
yeah, you know
man.
what I mean.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's so
please,
funny.
man.
We all have those
Yeah,
people.
no, it's tomorrow, but are you available, man? So those kind of chats, you know, like it's been such a blessing because I know they're all so busy. You know, they're all heavy hitters in their own right.
Yeah.
Especially the rhythm section players. They're
Sure.
very busy, but it means a
Sure.
lot when they take time to come together and we get to share the music. And you know, the beautiful thing is that when it comes to being in a band and okay, sure, you're doing your music, but I love the fact that everyone kind of partakes in the
I love
experience.
that.
Beautiful,
Yes.
right? It's not just
That's the
about you
best
because
part.
right,
Yeah.
we're not meant to be like, okay, this is my music, and then you just play like I tell you. You know, we want to all like be a part of it. Everyone has their song, like, oh, okay. For example, on the 7th, Zeke and Blake love on the 7th. So I'm like, okay, this is your tune.
You guys go.
You have fun.
Go ahead, fly.
Yeah.
Go ahead, shine. So that's so beautiful when people invest themselves into the music. They're part of what you're creating. It's lovely. I don't think we were meant to just kind of like do our own thing. It's beautiful when people add their own little something special into it as well. So I'm grateful even with the pandemic that we're also able to support musicians by paying them. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a gig where we pay them an exposure. Like I'm so grateful that right.
We've all done
cue all the memes. Can I pay my rent and exposure? Can I pay for this meal and exposure?
Right.
Oh man.
We're so grateful, to Standard Bank, to the Makhanda Jazz Festival, where we're able to honor our artists, honor them because they give so much of themselves to do this thing. And it's so beautiful to be able to sow into your band because they're sowing a lot into you by partnering with you to create the music. So that's one thing I'm very grateful for as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, just think of what this world would be like without the creatives. Suddenly, all of your series. I mean, I ask my students, so what did you do during like level 5 lockdown? Oh no, so we just watched Netflix, and I was like, okay, so what do all of those series and movies have in common? They've got number one, there's a soundtrack. There's a theme song. You've got videographers. You've got people who are doing sound design. You've got the technicians who are making all that happen for the end user, for them to consume it, for them to enjoy. So the arts is essential. And Sia, as you rightly said, and I think we all concur. Standard Bank, thank you very much for your support of the arts for such a long time. It is invaluable. It is very necessary. And I think in a time like this, I think it has really shown how important it is to support the arts, because in a time when there could have been nothing, we have not just a half-hearted festival, we have a fully fledged festival where there were artists recording in Cape Town, in Durban, in Quebec, and all over the country. And for that to be able to happen, the creators and the people who were necessary to make those recordings were needed. And so I think we are all just so grateful to Standard Bank for their support, and that we get to benefit, as musicians, but also that those who are listening get to benefit, because this is such an experience. It's not just about the music; it's about the upliftment that being part of this community brings. It's about the opportunities that coming to a festival like the Standard Bank Makhanda Festival affords. Opportunities that I think we can all testify, and that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And even just talking amongst the three of us, look what has happened just because we've all been part of that festival. The connections that we made, the musicians that we met, the growth that we've experienced, and how we are able to give back to the community through, as you said, Sia, as like we give of ourselves, the outpouring of ourselves through the arts, for the benefit of everyone. And so, thank you very much, Standard Bank and the whole team that made sure that it was possible for us to be to do what we're doing, and today this evening talking about your performances and Sipapelo and Sia I have greatly appreciated and been encouraged just to hear a little bit about your story. As you know, and I know that there will be other young musicians who will listen to this and be like, okay, that's how we get a break in this music industry, because it's tough. Everybody is vying for a spot, you know. But you know, knowing your identity, as you said, see, honoring people, being humble about it, and being professional, being dependable. You can be the world's best player, but if you're not dependable, you mess up once, and then people
Please
go,
say it
oh,
louder for the ones in the back,
thing,
please.
big thing, big.
You know?
Oh man.
You know, and but that's also what you said. You know, that the Makhanda Jazz Festival has been such a great teacher, and I think again, you and Sia have been quoting each other because it's a common experience. But you know, there's also a business to being an artist. It's not just playing the music. You are your brand, you know. And Sipupela, as you rightly said, you said your artist name, and I think I could paraphrase that and say that your brand is the Essen Project, you know. And so I know that everyone is going to enjoy your gigs. Please do go ahead and listen to this workshop, and all these recordings will be available on the National Arts Festival site. The URL is National Arts Festival. Please do check it out. And once again, Sipupelo and Ndlovu, Sia Charles, thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor. It's great to talk to you, and yeah, look forward to seeing the rest of the gigs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Sia. This was awesome.
Thank you, Sipupelo. Thank you, Kyle. This was wonderful. It was a great discourse, you know, and some good banter.
Really great.
Thanks, guys. This is wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much.